There are moments in every world tour that nobody plans for, moments that no set list, no choreography sheet, and no production team could ever script in advance. And on July 11th, in Munich, Germany, BTS's Jimin walked straight into one of those moments without even knowing it was coming. If you have been following the Arirang World Tour, you already know this leg has been nothing short of historic. Munich marked BTS's first time performing in Germany since their 2018 Love Yourself tour stop in Berlin, which means ARMY in this country waited 8 full years for this exact night. It also made BTS the first Asian act in history to sell out 2 consecutive nights at the Allianz Arena, a stadium so massive it can hold up to 75,000 people, which means over the course of 2 shows, roughly 150,000 fans passed through those gates. Before we even get to the main story, let's set the scene properly, because context is everything here, and if you are new to this channel and you love deep dives into everything Jimin and everything BTS, now is the perfect time to hit that subscribe button, so you never miss a moment like the one we are about to break down. To really understand why a single soundcheck photo could dominate timelines the way this one did, you have to understand the scale of what Arirang actually is. This is not just another world tour. This is being talked about as the largest K-pop world tour in history, spanning 79 shows across 34 regions on multiple continents, all built around the group's 5th studio album, Arirang, and its lead single Swim, released earlier this year following the members' return from mandatory military service. The production itself reflects that scale. This tour uses a 360-degree stage design, meaning there is genuinely no bad seat in a stadium this size. Every single fan gets a clear view, no matter where they are sitting. The setlist blends brand new tracks like Normal, Merry Go Round, and 2.0 with the songs that built this group's legacy in the first place: Dynamite, Butter, Fake Love, Boy with Love, Idol, Not Today, and Fire. And the tour is also known for slipping in surprise songs, meaning even fans who have already seen multiple stops never quite know what is coming next. When a tour is built on that level of scale and unpredictability, it makes sense that even something as small as a handmade fan sign at soundcheck can end up becoming one of the biggest talking points of the entire European leg. The hype for Munich did not start with BTS. It actually started with football. The night before the concert, FC Bayern Munich, one of the most legendary football clubs on the planet, posted a video on their official account that immediately caught fire online. In the clip, German national team goalkeeper Manuel Neuer and several of his teammates are seen holding up army bombs, the official BTS light stick, looking completely puzzled, asking what the object even was and what it was supposed to do. Korean defender Kim Min-jae, who plays for Bayern Munich, stepped in to explain to his confused teammates that this was BTS's official light stick, the thing fans raced together to cheer the group on during concerts. That video alone racked up massive engagement, with fans pointing out that Bayern Munich had shown love for BTS before, specifically for V, years earlier, and this time the club doubled down, replying to fans that while Taeyong might be their personal favorite, it is truly OT7 forever. It was a sweet, funny, completely unexpected crossover between the football world and the K-pop world, and honestly, it set the tone for exactly the kind of unpredictable, internet-breaking energy that would define the entire weekend. Now here's where things get interesting, because the real story of Munich Day 1 did not even happen during the actual concert. It happened during soundcheck, hours before doors even opened. Soundcheck moments have become their own entire subculture within the BTS fandom, because this is when the members are more relaxed, more playful, and far more likely to interact directly with the small group of lucky fans who get access to that early session. Getting a soundcheck spot on this tour is not easy either. Fans often line up for hours, sometimes overnight, on the off chance their numbering ticket gets called for early entry. And once they are actually inside, there is no guarantee any member will even make it over to their section of the barricade before soundcheck wraps up. So when a fan does get that window, even just a handful of seconds, they tend to plan for it. They bring the sign that took the longest to make, the message they have been saving for exactly this moment, because you genuinely never know if you will get another chance on the entire tour. That is exactly the environment this fan sign was created for. Somewhere in the days leading up to Munich, a fan sat down, found or edited together this image of Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Erling Haaland mid-match, and Jimin, cropped them into a single composition, added the Korean caption, and printed it, all on the gamble that Jimin himself might end up close enough to actually see it. That is worth sitting with for a second, because this entire viral moment only exists because one fan had a genuinely brilliant, slightly chaotic idea, executed it perfectly, and then happened to get lucky with proximity and timing on the one day it mattered. It is a small reminder of just how much of fandom culture, the kind of culture built around channels like this one, comes from fans themselves rather than from any official promotion, and honestly, some of the best BTS content that exists online started exactly this way, as one person's spontaneous idea that the rest of the fandom then ran with. And on this particular afternoon, at the edge of the Allianz Arena stage, Jimin walked toward the barricade to greet fans the way he always does, warm, present, fully engaged with the people who travel from all over the world just to be there. A fan held up a fan sign, which if you are unfamiliar is basically a handmade poster fans create and hope an idol will notice during a show. This particular fan sign was not a simple message or a cute drawing. It was a photograph, carefully composed, featuring 3 faces side by side. On one side, Chris Hemsworth in full character as Thor, the Norse god of thunder from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the middle, Erling Haaland, the Norwegian striker who has become one of the most dominant forces in world football today. And on the other side, Jimin himself. All 3 of them staring directly into the camera with the exact same serious, almost intense expression. And the detail that made ARMY completely lose their minds, all 3 of them share strikingly similar long, flowing blonde hair. Underneath the photo, the fan had written a caption in Korean that translated roughly to God of Thunder, God of Football, our God, positioning Jimin as the 3rd member of what fans almost instantly began calling the Blonde Trinity. Think about that phrase for a second, because it is genuinely perfect. You have a literal Marvel superhero, one of the greatest footballers alive in this generation, and a global pop icon, all visually unified by one simple, almost accidental detail, the exact same golden blonde hair. It is the kind of comparison that could only exist in the internet era, where fandoms across completely different worlds, Marvel fans, football fans, and K-pop fans, suddenly find themselves colliding over a single image, and every single one of those fandoms had an opinion about it. Jimin's reaction is honestly what turned this from a funny fan-made meme into a legitimate viral moment. Fan-recorded footage from the barricade shows him looking at the poster, and for a brief second, he simply cannot process what he is looking at. His smile spreads slowly, somewhere between disbelief and pure amusement, the kind of smile you make when something is so unexpected that your brain genuinely needs a moment to catch up. He does not immediately look away, or move on to the next fan the way idols sometimes do with fan signs during a busy sound check. Instead, he lingers. He brings the microphone up to rest against his own forehead, almost like he is trying to physically process the image in front of him, all while his eyes stay locked on the poster. It is such a small, human gesture, but if you have watched enough Jimin content over the years, you know this is exactly the kind of unscripted, genuine reaction that makes him one of the most captivating performers to watch even when he is not performing at all. And speaking of unscripted reactions, if this kind of content is what you come to this channel for, make sure you are subscribed and that notification bell is turned on, because moments like this tend to explode within hours and you do not want to be scrolling through your feed a full day late. Within minutes, clips of the exchange were already circulating on social media, and the reaction online was immediate and enormous. One fan post that captured the moment perfectly read simply that Jimin was trying to process the blonde trinity, and that single sentence ended up being quoted and requoted across thousands of posts throughout the day. Hashtags referencing the tour, the moment, and Jimin's name all began trending together, and what makes this particular viral wave so interesting is how it crossed fandom lines. This was not just ARMY talking to ARMY. Football fans who follow Haaland closely were suddenly seeing his face circulating in K-pop spaces. Marvel fans who track everything Chris Hemsworth does were seeing Thor comparisons pop up in a completely unrelated corner of the internet. And casual scrollers who had no idea who any of these 3 people were before that afternoon were stopping to ask questions, which is genuinely one of the most organic ways a moment like this introduces new audiences to an artist like Jimin. What is also worth pointing out is how differently each fandom reacted to the same image, and honestly, that contrast is part of what made it spread so fast. Within ARMY spaces, the conversation immediately turned affectionate, fans zooming in on every micro-expression on Jimin's face, breaking down frame by frame exactly how long he stared at the poster before smiling, treating those few seconds with the same level of analysis usually reserved for an entire music video. Over in football spaces, the tone was a little more comedic, fans joking that Haaland now had an unofficial K-pop counterpart, and some accounts dedicated entirely to football memes, picking up the clip without even fully knowing who Jimin was, simply because the visual gag of three blonde men with the same serious expression was funny on its own. And then there is the layer of Marvel fans, who could not stop pointing out that Chris Hemsworth himself has a long history of interacting with BTS content in the past, which only added another layer of amusement to seeing his face pop up in a Bavarian football stadium thousands of miles away from anything Marvel-related. 3 completely different online communities, 3 completely different reasons for finding it funny, and all 3 converging on the exact same 15-second clip within the same 24-hour window. That kind of organic, multi-fandom spread is genuinely rare, and it is a big part of why the soundcheck moment ended up traveling so much further than a typical fan interaction usually does. And then Jimin did something that pushed this story even further. Later that day, he shared the video himself on his own social media account, and instead of writing a long caption explaining the joke or reacting with a string of emojis, he kept it simple, posting only 2 words, "What is this?" That is it. No further explanation needed, because by that point, the internet had already done the explaining for him. There is something almost strategic, even if completely unintentional, about how Jimin engages with fan content like this. He does not over-explain, he does not try too hard to be funny, he simply reacts authentically in the moment and lets the fans build the narrative around it. And somehow that restraint makes the moment even funnier and even more shareable than if he had leaned into it with a big dramatic response. But here is the part of the story that turned this from a cute soundcheck clip into something ARMY will likely be talking about for months, because Jimin did not just react to the comparison, he leaned into it during the actual show. At one point on stage, in front of the full stadium, Jimin slicked his hair back with his hand, adjusted his expression into something completely deadpan and serious, and began walking across the stage with slow, deliberate, almost stiff steps, his gaze fixed straight ahead with zero change in expression. If you follow football even casually, you already know exactly what he was recreating. Erling Haaland has become just as famous for his signature walk during matches as he has for his goals. A slow, intense, almost robotic strut that has become a meme in its own right within the football world. Watching Jimin, an idol known for his fluid, expressive, emotionally rich stage presence, suddenly switch into this rigid, deadpan football star walk in front of tens of thousands of fans was such a perfectly timed piece of physical comedy that the stadium reaction was instant. Screaming, laughing, thousands of phones raised at once trying to capture the moment before it passed. It lasted only a few seconds, but it is exactly the kind of unexpected, self-aware humor that reminds everyone why Jimin's stage presence goes so far beyond just vocals and choreography. And the timing of all of this could not have possibly been scripted better if a professional writer had sat down and planned it. That exact weekend, Norway and England were facing off in the quarterfinals of the 2026 World Cup, played over in Miami, meaning Erling Haaland's name was already trending globally in sports circles for reasons that had nothing to do with BTS at all. So when Jimin's impression started circulating at the same moment the football world had its eyes locked on Haaland's actual tournament run, the 2 trending topics essentially collided into one massive online conversation. Football commentary accounts were reposting the Jimin clip. K-pop accounts were tagging football fans. It became one of those rare crossover moments where an idol's spontaneous stage humor ended up riding the exact same news cycle as one of the world's biggest sporting events, completely by coincidence. And honestly, coincidences like that are part of what makes following this tour in real time so much fun. If you want to catch these moments as they happen instead of finding out about them a week later, drop a comment letting me know which city you think is going to produce the next viral Jimin moment, because based on this tour so far, it genuinely could be anywhere. What makes this whole story even more fitting is that it is not actually an isolated incident. It fits into a much bigger pattern that has followed Jimin throughout this entire European leg of the tour. Just days before Munich, during the London stop at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, The Guardian gave the performance a full 5-star review, with Jimin's stage presence specifically highlighted as a centerpiece of the night. Billboard went out of its way to spotlight something as simple as Jimin's hair, describing the way he whipped it dramatically during his performance as having an almost Samson-like power, strong enough on its own to be considered one of the best moments of the entire London show. Dazed, the UK fashion and culture outlet, even posted their own direct cam footage from that concert, choosing Jimin's body-to-body performance as the one moment from the entire night worth capturing and sharing on their platform. Even smaller details became stories of their own, like the beanie with ear flaps Jimin wore on the first night in London, which sold out on the official tour merchandise store before the concert had even ended. Individually, these might just look like scattered headlines. But put them all together, and you start to see the actual pattern here, which is that wherever this tour goes, whatever Jimin does, whether it is a 5-star reviewed vocal performance, a hairstyle, or literally just his reaction to a fan-made meme during soundcheck, it consistently becomes a moment that spreads far beyond the K-pop bubble and into mainstream culture and conversation. That is genuinely the most fascinating part of watching Jimin's career at this stage. He is not manufacturing viral moments. He is not performing for the algorithm. He is simply reacting to the world around him, whether that is a fan's clever meme, a football superstar's iconic walk, or a stadium full of tens of thousands of people, and somehow every single one of those reactions ends up becoming a headline, a trending topic, or in this case, a permanent piece of Arirang World Tour history that fans will be pulling up on their timelines for years to come. And with day 2 of Munich happening the very next night, and the tour still having stop after stop ahead of it across Europe and beyond, it genuinely feels like this is only the beginning of the kind of unscripted, unforgettable content this era of BTS is going to keep producing. It also says something about where Jimin is right now in his career, 7 years past debut, freshly returned from military service, and still somehow generating the exact same explosive, spontaneous internet reactions he did at the very start, except now on a scale that spans continents instead of just one fandom. A soundcheck barricade moment in Munich reaching football commentary pages and Marvel fan accounts within hours is not something that happens by accident or by marketing. It happens because there is a genuine, ongoing global curiosity about this person, one that a single fan sign was able to tap into completely by chance. That is the real story underneath all of this, not just a funny photo, but a reminder of just how far Jimin's reach actually extends at this point in the tour, and we are still only partway through the European leg. So here is the real question, and I want to know your honest answer in the comments below. Out of everything we just covered, the fan sign itself, Jimin's slow-motion disbelief, the 2-word caption, or the full stadium Haaland walk, which moment actually got you the most? Because based on the reaction across every platform right now, ARMY genuinely cannot agree on a single favorite. And I think that says everything about how packed this one soundcheck actually was. If this kind of breakdown is exactly the content you want more of, do not scroll past without hitting that subscribe button. Tap the notification bell so you catch the next update the second it drops. And if you are already subscribed, go ahead and share this video with the one ARMY friend who is going to lose their mind over the blonde trinity as much as you just did. We will be back with more from this tour very soon, because if Munich Day 1 was any indication, this leg of Arirang is nowhere near done giving us moments worth talking about.